The night was calm. Over the oceans, over the deserts, over the crowded cities of Earth, life was normal. People worked, laughed, and argued. Airplanes crossed the skies. Satellites moved in silence. The planet spun as it always had, but then something changed. Without warning, strange signals cut across the radio bands. At first, scientists thought it was noise. Maybe a broken satellite, maybe the sun's storm. But the signal repeated, clear, sharp, almost like a heartbeat. It pulsed again and again, not natural, not random. Astronomers turned their telescopes to the dark sky. What they saw made them fall silent. Above the Earth, just beyond the edge of atmosphere, massive shadows appeared. Not one, not two, but dozens. The ships were huge, larger than anything humans had ever built. They were shaped like floating mountains of metal, black and sharp, blocking the stars. Slowly they moved into position. They were not rushing. They were not hiding. They came as if they owned the sky. For the first time in history, every nation stopped what it was doing. In New York, crowds gathered in the streets staring upward. In Tokyo, people held phones recording the dark shapes. In the deserts of Africa, shepherds and soldiers lifted their heads, watching the silent giants above. The world's leaders rushed to speak. Emergency meetings were called. The United Nations became the center of fear and questions. Who were they? What did they want? And why now? But the ships said nothing. They hovered in silence, their shadows stretching across continents. Their surfaces shone like black glass, smooth and alien. No lights, no windows, no sound. Just presence. Days passed. Humanity reached out. Radio messages were sent in every language. Greetings, peaceful songs. Images of human culture. Art, mathematics, DNA, history. Scientists and diplomats begged for a reply. But there was nothing. The aliens stayed silent. No answer, no attack. Just watching. The silence was worse than violence. People began to panic. Some prayed in the streets, believing the end had come. Others celebrated, thinking visitors meant salvation or knowledge. Conspiracies grew. Some said governments had made a secret deal. Others whispered that the aliens were demons, here to test humanity. Meanwhile, the militaries of Earth prepared quietly. Fighter jets circled the skies. Nuclear weapons were armed, hidden under oceans and deserts. But still, no one dared to fire first. Humanity waited. On the third day, strange events began. The alien ships shifted position. One by one, they moved into a perfect formation, covering the planet like a cage. Scientists watched in horror. The ships were not random. They were organized, calculated, deliberate. It was no visit. It was control. People on Earth could feel it. A weight, a pressure, like the sky itself was held hostage. And yet, still silence, no voice, no demands, only the dark shadows above. News channels around the world ran the same question. Why are they here? Are they explorers? Are they conquerors? Are they something we cannot understand? In secret, generals and presidents argued. Should they strike first? Should they wait? Should they trust? No answer was safe. One wrong move could bring destruction. And then, one night, a strange light spread across the ships. For the first time, the aliens showed movement. Their black surfaces glowed with patterns, lines like fire crawling across metal skin. It was not random. It was language, a message. The world held its breath. Scientists scrambled to decode the strange symbols. Supercomputers ran day and night. But the message was not understood. It was too complex, too alien. And then, before the decoding could be finished, the lights went dark again. Silence returned. People felt more fear than ever before. The aliens had spoken, but only in a language humans could not break. It was like watching a giant raise a hand and then stop, waiting to strike. For children in small villages, the night sky no longer meant stars. It meant danger. For soldiers in secret bases, every second felt like the last. For leaders of great nations, the silence was unbearable. The Earth was no longer free, and yet, the world still asked, why do they not speak to us? Why do they not strike? What do they want? But in the shadows of those massive ships, one truth became clear. This was not peace. This was not war. This was something far worse. It was waiting. And waiting, everyone knew, was only the beginning. The world could not stay patient forever. For days, the alien ships had circled Earth like silent predators. They gave no reply, no sound, no signal, except that strange, glowing message no one could decode. Humanity's leaders had begged for answers, but the sky stayed cold and dark, and then, finally, the silence broke. It was a morning like any other. In schools, children sat at their desks. In cities, traffic filled the streets. In deserts, soldiers patrolled their posts, watching the shadows above. But at 10:07 a.m. UTC, every screen on Earth flickered. Phones, televisions, computers, everything turned black. Then, without warning, a single voice filled the silence. It was not male. It was not female. It was something in between, deep and cold, like metal scraping across stone. The voice echoed in every language at once. Humans, you are weak. Your world is surrounded. You will surrender peacefully, or you will be erased. The planet froze. For a moment, people thought it was fake, some computer hack, some cruel trick. But then the same words were repeated, this time broadcast directly from the alien ships themselves. The sound shook the skies, rolling like thunder across every continent. There was no doubt. The aliens had spoken. At the United Nations, chaos erupted. Diplomats shouted across the chamber. Some demanded peace talks, others cried for weapons. Leaders asked the same desperate questions. Should we surrender? Should we resist? But humanity was divided. In the streets, people panicked. Some screamed that Earth was doomed. Others shouted that it was a lie, that humans could fight back. Conspiracies spread faster than truth. Fear became louder than reason. Still, the scientists tried. That night, the best minds of Earth prepared a reply. They created a broadcast, simple and clear, in mathematics and human voice. We are not your enemy. We wish for peace. We do not want war. The message was sent in every direction. Radio waves, laser signals, satellites. For 6 long hours, Earth waited. And then the aliens answered. Their words were colder this time, sharper, like a blade pressed against the skin of the planet. Peace is a lie of the weak. Peace is fear. Peace is surrender. Only those who kneel speak of peace. The words spread across every device, every radio, every screen. The voice was everywhere, impossible to ignore, and the meaning was clear. These beings had no interest in friendship. For the first time, humanity saw the truth. The silence had not been peace. It had been judgment, observation, calculation, and now the verdict was delivered. Humanity would bow, or humanity would burn. In homes across the world, families cried together. In military bunkers, generals studied maps and targets. In secret labs, scientists whispered about weapons never revealed. But even in fear, something stirred. The people of Earth were not ready to kneel. Not yet. At the White House, the President of the United States gave a speech. His voice was calm, but his hands trembled. We will not surrender, he said. We will continue to seek peace, but if they bring war to our world, we will not fall quietly. In Moscow, Beijing, London, and Delhi, leaders echoed the same promise. For once in history, the nations of Earth found unity, not out of love, but out of survival. But the aliens were not finished. 2 days later, they gave a demonstration. Without warning, a beam of light fell from the sky. It struck the middle of the Pacific Ocean. The water boiled, rising into a storm of steam. Satellites captured the explosion. An entire section of ocean turned into fire. The aliens did not speak. They did not need to. The message was simple. Submit, or this will happen to your cities. The world trembled. Children hid under desks. Soldiers prepared for orders that might never come. Scientists prayed for more time. And yet through the fear, something burned quietly. A question, a thought, a whisper that passed from soldier to farmer, from teacher to student, from leader to citizen. If peace is impossible, what will humanity become? Because deep inside every human heart, a shadow began to awaken. If peace was weakness, then humanity would show the aliens something else. Something older, something stronger, something terrifying. For now, Earth still waited, but the waiting would not last forever. And soon, the aliens would see the other side of humanity. The Earth had begged for peace. The Earth had sent messages, promises, and hope. But the aliens gave only threats. Now the time for silence was over. On the seventh day of their arrival, the sky burned. Without warning, one of the alien ships moved. It was the size of a floating city, its surface black like obsidian. Slowly it tilted toward Earth. Then, from its side, a beam of white fire shot downward. The target, Beijing. In seconds, towers of glass and steel melted like wax. Streets turned to rivers of flame. Millions screamed and then millions fell silent. The world had witnessed the first strike. News spread instantly. Cameras caught the sky glowing red above the city. Families watched in horror from every screen, knowing the same fire could fall upon them next. At the United Nations, leaders shouted and cried. This was no longer negotiation. This was extermination. The aliens had spoken once more, their voice echoing like thunder. This is a warning. Surrender or the next city will burn. And the next, and the next. For humanity, this was the breaking point. No more words, no more waiting. The world rose in fury. In Washington, Moscow, Beijing, and London, red phones rang. Nuclear silos opened. Submarines moved into position. Fighter jets streaked across the skies. For the first time in history, every nation pointed its weapons at the same enemy. But even so, there was fear. Humanity knew the truth. Earth's weapons might not be enough. These ships were too large, too advanced. A single blast had erased a city. What could human missiles do against giants like these? Still, humanity had no choice. To kneel was to die. To fight was the only path left. Deep underground, secret bases came alive. Weapons hidden for decades were powered on. Lasers, railguns, and experimental drones rolled out of steel vaults. Scientists who had worked in silence for years now whispered the same words. It is time. The aliens had expected surrender. Instead, they had awakened something else. Rage. In the streets of Paris, Rome, and Cairo, ordinary people raised banners and weapons. Farmers became fighters. Mechanics built bombs. Hackers attacked alien systems, searching for weaknesses. It was not just governments anymore. It was everyone. Humanity itself had entered the war. The aliens did not wait. The second strike fell on Mumbai. A wall of fire swallowed entire districts. Millions more died. The world cried, but the tears burned into anger. That same night, Earth fired back. From hidden silos, missiles roared into the sky. From submarines, torpedoes streaked upward. From mountain bases, lasers fired beams of light toward the alien ships. The first human counterattack had begun, and for the first time, something happened the aliens did not expect. One of their ships cracked. A missile struck the black hull of a cruiser above the Atlantic. The explosion tore a hole into its surface. Fire and smoke poured out. The giant ship trembled, and then, slowly, it fell. The world watched as the alien Titan crashed into the ocean, sending waves higher than mountains. Humanity had drawn first blood. The message was clear. Humans would not kneel, but victory came with a price. The aliens retaliated with fury. Their beams cut across continents. They burned armies where they stood. Satellites fell from the sky like shooting stars. Still, humans fought. Fighter jets rammed alien drones. Naval fleets launched everything they had. Soldiers on the ground fired until the barrels of their guns melted. And everywhere, ordinary people resisted. Families built shelters. Doctors saved the wounded. Hackers screamed into radios, "We fight, we fight, we fight." The war had truly begun. In secret war rooms, generals argued over the final step. Earth still had weapons no one had dared to use. Dangerous weapons that could kill not just the enemy, but perhaps the planet itself. One general spoke with steel in his voice. They gave us no choice. If peace is weakness, then let us show them strength. Let us show them the other side of humanity. But even as leaders prepared their next move, one question haunted them all. Would humanity survive its own fury? The breaking point had come. The world was on fire. The sky was war. And in the silence between each blast, one truth echoed in every human heart. Peace was gone. Now only survival remained. The skies of Earth burned red. Cities had fallen. Oceans boiled. Millions were dead. But humanity had not surrendered. The aliens had called peace a weakness. They had called humanity fragile. Now they were about to learn the truth. For centuries, Earth had fought wars. Empires had risen and fallen. Nations had been built on struggle. Humanity knew pain, loss, and sacrifice better than any other species. And when pushed to the edge, humanity did not kneel. Humanity struck back. In the bunkers below Washington, Moscow, and Beijing, secret codes were entered. Steel doors opened. Lights glowed across underground chambers. For years, scientists had worked in silence, building weapons no one wanted to use. Now, those weapons were ready. Orbital cannons hidden on satellites turned toward the alien ships. Railguns buried under mountains prepared to fire. Drones, thousands of them, swarmed from hidden bases blackening the skies. The order was simple. Release everything. And so, humanity's fury was unleashed. Above the Pacific, alien cruisers fired beams of fire. But then hundreds of drones dove into their hulls, detonating explosives inside. The ships cracked like broken glass. One fell into the sea, its explosion shaking the ocean floor. In Africa, railguns fired rounds the size of cars. Each shot ripped through alien armor, sparks and smoke scattering across the sky. Soldiers cheered as the giants bled fire. In Europe, underground cannons opened fire on the ships above. Explosions lit up the night like suns, turning darkness into day, and in space, human pilots made the ultimate sacrifice. Small fighter ships, too weak to match alien power, rammed directly into the enemy cruisers. One after another, human lives were spent like bullets, and with every strike, another alien ship fell. The galaxy had never seen this before. The aliens had expected fear. They had expected surrender. Instead, they found rage. They found unity. They found a species that refused to die quietly. For the first time, the invaders faltered. Their perfect formations broke. Their voices echoed with anger, confusion, disbelief. They had crushed countless worlds before, but never had they faced a species like this. Then, across every radio, every screen, every broadcast, Earth sent a message. The voice was calm, steady and full of fire. We tried peace. We offered friendship. You answered with blood. Now you will meet the other side of humanity. Those words echoed across the battlefield, and the effect was electric. Soldiers screamed with renewed fury. Civilians in hiding whispered them like prayer. Even the dying smiled, knowing humanity's message had been delivered. The aliens tried to strike harder. Their beams cut through cities, their weapons erased armies. But it was too late. Humanity had awakened something unstoppable. In South America, resistance fighters hijacked alien drones and turned them against their masters. In Asia, hidden labs released prototype weapons, machines built not for peace, but for extinction. In the Arctic, submarines launched nuclear warheads into orbit, exploding directly against alien shields. The night sky became a storm of fire. Ships burned. Oceans boiled. The earth shook under the weight of fury, and yet, humanity kept fighting. Every death became fuel. Every loss became fire. The aliens had asked for war. Now, they were drowning in it. For the first time, their ships began to retreat. Not many, but enough. They pulled back into higher orbit, regrouping, bleeding from wounds they never thought possible. Humanity had done the impossible. They had stood against giants and made them bleed, but the cost was terrible. Cities were gone. Millions were ash. The planet itself was scarred. Yet in the smoke and ruin, one truth burned brighter than ever. Earth would not kneel. The galaxy was watching. Across distant stars, hidden civilizations listened to Earth's transmission. Some trembled in fear. Others whispered in awe. A new name had entered the cosmos, one not of weakness but of fury. The other side of humanity had been revealed, and it was terrifying. The war had raged across the skies. Earth had burned, but Earth had not fallen. The alien fleet, once proud and unshakable, was broken. Their ships, black mountains of steel, now drifted in orbit like wounded beasts. Many had fallen into the oceans. Others burned in the atmosphere, breaking apart like dying stars, and still humanity stood. The aliens had expected surrender. Instead, they had found rage. They had found sacrifice. They had found the side of humanity no species had ever seen before. Now the battle was over, but the war was not forgotten. From underground bunkers and ruined cities, survivors looked upward. The sky was scarred with fire, but for the first time in weeks there was hope. The giants had retreated, but they were not gone. High above Earth, the last alien ships hung in silence. They no longer threatened fire. They no longer demanded surrender. Instead, they simply watched. Perhaps they were waiting. Perhaps they were afraid. Perhaps they were planning to return with greater force. Humanity did not know. But humanity had an answer ready. At the United Nations, half destroyed, yet still standing, leaders from across the world gathered in one hall. The walls were cracked, the ceiling broken, but the voices inside were united. For the first time in history, Earth spoke as one. A transmission was prepared, not just for the alien fleet, but for the entire galaxy. Satellites carried it into space, past the moon, past the solar system, past the dark void between stars. The message was simple. The voice chosen was steady and unbroken. We tried peace. We came with open hands. We sent songs, greetings, knowledge. You answered with fire. You thought we would kneel. You thought we were weak. You were wrong. You have seen the other side of humanity. You have seen what happens when we are pushed. We do not surrender. We do not kneel, we fight. And if you come again, we will fight harder. We will burn brighter. We will show you that humanity is not prey. This is our final message to the stars. Earth lives, humanity stands, and we are coming. The words spread across the cosmos. On Earth, people listened in silence. Soldiers in ruined uniforms raised their fists. Families in broken homes whispered the words like prayer. Even the dying smiled, knowing the galaxy would never forget what humanity had become. And in the darkness between stars, other civilizations listened too. Some felt fear. If the aliens, so powerful, so cruel, had been beaten back by this small blue planet, what chance did they have? Others felt hope. Perhaps humanity was not just dangerous. Perhaps humanity was a shield, a fire that could burn not only in rage, but in protection. The aliens themselves retreated. Their ships vanished into the black void, leaving Earth scarred but unbroken. No one knew when they would return, but everyone knew they would remember, because now they understood the truth. Humanity was not fragile. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was something far worse for its enemies, relentless. And so the galaxy waited. Would humanity stay on its planet, healing its wounds? Or would it rise, reaching for the stars with the same fury it had shown in war? No one could answer, but the message was already clear. The age of silence was over. The age of fear was ending. The age of humanity had begun.